Lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Guys, I think we did it. I know we still have 29 more days until kickoff in Norman, but it is official. College football will be played in Norman this month. August 1st, OU plays a game this month. The toughest part of the offseason is officially behind us. They're practicing in Norman. We had a football game last night, kinda. Football season is here. Let's friggin' go. And how was everybody's offseason? Did this feel like an incredibly long offseason after a 6-6? How did we pass the time by, Parker? This felt like a long offseason once again for this guy.
Boy, wasn't it? It was a long. I mean, the offseason always feels longer when your team didn't have a ton of success the previous year. Like 6 and 7 lengthens the offseason. That's just kind of a natural consequence of mediocrity.
I guess the good news of if your team is really good and got a chance to win a national championship or does win a national championship these days in the sport, the offseason is probably faster than it's ever been because you're basically playing into the month of February now. Not as much of an offseason if you're playing in a national championship game. But, hey, good times. Again, we got a football game this month in Norman, Oklahoma, and I'm excited about it. Parker was at practice today, so we'll get some notes on that. But I just want to throw just kind of a general thought at you, and let's see if our thoughts are kind of aligned on this. And we will talk recruiting, obviously, this hour as well. But here's kind of what I've gathered over the course of the offseason and certainly over the past 2 or 3 weeks or so. And let's see if this matches up with what you kind of feel and what you've heard. Either publicly or the scuttlebutt that you hear, I think the staff really likes this team. Now, you can probably say that about any coaching staff in the country at this point right now before you faced adversity, before you faced serious injuries.
Except Kenny Dillingham. Dillingham does not like his team.
That's true. At least not yesterday he didn't. But I think that there's a real sense from this coaching staff, the way it sits right now, that they've got something. And with that, Parker, I kind of feel like they're not necessarily afraid to say it, but it's much more of a quiet confidence right now that people inside the program have about this team more than anything else. How does that match up with what you think, what you heard?
Yeah, that's largely true, John. I mean, this program and the individuals therein, they're not going to be especially brash and boisterous. I mean, that's just kind of how Oklahoma football has operated under Brent Venables. You're not going to have a Thomas Castellanos coming out and saying he wants all the smoke from everyone, in essence. You're not going to get any comments like that from those on the OU staff or those on the OU roster. Brent Venables has surrounded himself on staff with a bunch of folks that would much rather prove it on the field than talk about it. They would rather walk it than talk it. And you see that dynamic at play with your starting quarterback and John Mateer. That's definitely the demeanor that he brings to the table. And so I think the bulletin board material throughout the month of August, at least from the OU end, is going to be minimal. This is a team that understands the connotation that they carry after the season that was in 2024. And I forget who said it. For the life of me, I can't remember. It may have been John Mateer. Somebody said recently, all of us that weren't part of 6 and 7 a year ago, we all own it like we were.
I like that.
Across the football team, across the roster, that's the level of individual accountability that you have to have if you're going to rebound in such a tough league as the SEC. Everybody has to feel the sting of 6 and 7 driving them to greater things.
I felt the sting of 6 and 7.
Oh, I know you did.
One-star Joe Bob from Louisiana says, drank a lot. That's how he got through the offseason. See? OU football turning us into alcoholics.
Well, is he saying that's how he got through the offseason or the 2024 season? Or both?
Probably
both.
I was about to say, I feel comfortable speaking for Joe Bob here. I think the answer to that is both. That's exactly what the answer is there. One-star Captain Willard says OG locked up crew today.
Dang
In
right.
case you haven't noticed, Grayson's off today. I am in with Parker until 3 p.m., and then Travis will be with me till 6 p.m. So let's go. You were at practice today for the first time this training camp, and it's a simple question for me to ask. I know it can be a difficult response. Hey, what was the big takeaway? I mean, you see so much. There's so much going on. But if I do ask you what was the big takeaway, was it a certain player? Was it a certain position group? Just the overall feel of practice? Or was it simply, hey, we got to see Jaden Knott in action for the first time today? Maybe that was the biggest takeaway.
To me, it's as simple as that. You got to see Jaden Knott in action. I mean, we did not get to stick around for the really, really interesting parts of practice, right? We got to see some 11-on-11 stuff, but nothing super nuanced, nothing super intricate, pretty much just John Mateer and Jet New and Michael Hawkins and Whit Neubauer running a bunch of read options in 11-on-11. So that was about the extent of live action that we got to witness. But on a day like today, day 2 of fall camp, you're just eager to see the new guy, the ballyhooed new guy. And we all saw John Mateer all spring. We got to see a lot of these transfer acquisitions all spring. But to me, it was as simple as seeing Jaden Knott and then seeing Jake Michaela as well.
I mean, the Jaden Knott thing really is interesting because everybody knows that you have a good running back. And everybody knows that because of the numbers that he put up at Cal. Somewhat last year, I mean, clearly he was banged up. But really 2 years ago, like, you've seen Jaden Knott be really good. But because of when you got him and, you know, some other factors involved, you haven't really seen him in an OU uniform talking about the media, the fan base, really until this week. So you've known all offseason long that you got a really good running back. You just don't really know what exactly you have, and we're not going to know exactly what you have at running back until 29 days away when they kick the thing off. So I think that is very interesting element of getting a guy in that second portal cycle in the offseason. What about Jacob Jordan? What Teddy and I were talking yesterday about the wide receivers. Zion Kearney had a good day yesterday. Mm-hmm. Who else? Keontae Lewis had a good day yesterday. Man. Jacob Jordan, he says, not going away, though.
The feedback I've gotten is that Oklahoma dominated the transfer portal at the wide receiver position. I mean, the guys they got individually, like to a man, and let's see if I can run them all down here off the dome. Keontae Lewis, obviously Giovanni Gibson. You got Jermichael Carter. You got Isaiah Satania and Josiah Martin as well.
Yep.
Josiah Martin. But really those first 4 that I referenced, Satania, Carter, Gibson, and who did I just space on?
Did you say Keontae
Lewis?
Yeah.
There you go. Those 4 have all been the subject of steady buzz throughout the offseason. Obviously, there's been less runway for Carter to really make an impression because he's only been here a couple months. But those dudes are going to play. You will see all of those dudes on the field in a substantial capacity. Josiah Martin, not quite as sure about him. He's slender. He's listed at 163 pounds, so he may be a guy that needs to pack on some weight before he's really ready. But he's a guy that can take a red shirt. He didn't redshirt last year at Cal, so he could theoretically take a redshirt year this fall and then still have 3 years ahead of him at the University of Oklahoma in 26 and beyond. But Lewis, Satania, Carter, Giovanni Gibson, you're going to see a lot of each of those dudes this fall.
I got to stop bearing the lead when talking about training camp practices. I did it yesterday, and I just did it again today. At the portion of practice you guys were out there, did you see any medical carts come out on the field? Did you see any stretchers come out on the field? Any ambulances or anything out on the field when you were there? Or were we clear of injuries?
None of the above.
Hey, all right.
3 guys that we did not see out there in any capacity were Grayson Halton, Febechi Wiwu, and Ricky Lolohea. Did not see any trace of those 3. There were some other guys that were rehabbing off to the side. There were some other guys that were just observing. Giovanni Gibson and Jaden Gibson obviously just standing there observing. But those were the only 3 guys, to my recollection, that we did not see.
But you didn't see any injuries happen at practice today. That's 2 days in a row where I know someone that was at practice and not an injury happened. Let's continue to knock on wood over here, right? Let's keep the positive vibes going, but that's good news so far early on in training camp. To the text line, 4-star KW in the 918 says, tag team back again. Yes, we are, at least for today. Justin, formerly Yoda, says, Parker, did Thomas, Fasusi, and Stone, how did they look today? Thomas, Fasusi, and Stone.
Thomas looked great, man. I'm super excited for Elijah Thomas. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for a true freshman, even a true freshman as talented as Elijah Thomas is, to crack the rotation in a wide receiver room that is as deep and as experienced as Oklahoma's, but I think he's capable of it. Fasusi, and you said the third one was Stone?
Yeah, David Stone.
Thomas, Fasusi, and Stone. I mean, I liked what I saw from Michael Fasusi and David Stone. Again, we weren't really seeing real, like, I don't know that we were seeing 100% of Michael Fasusi and David Stone in the trenches. It was a lot of walkthroughs, and they did do some live reps, but, it's day 2, so they looked fine. They looked like you'd expect them to look. They didn't look bad. They didn't look out of shape. They didn't look alarmingly immobile. They looked the way that they should look.
5-star Randy, how many jet sweeps and tight end passes did Parker see today? We can't talk about today without reliving the sad past of last year.
Can we just leave 2024 and 2024? Can we just?
I would love that. I was on with Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered yesterday, and I said, hey, when is the official point where I can stop saying 6-7 Oklahoma and I can start saying 0-0 Oklahoma? It's the month of August. I think that it's 0-0 Oklahoma. And 0-0 feels a whole lot better than talking about 6-7. I'll tell you that much right now. Papa Boganowski says Machine Gun and Parker, LFG.
Come on. Mike's listening.
I did see some clips of Michael Boganowski out there today.
Man,
while the media was there running
he
around.
Empowers, boy. He empowers in the same safety room whenever that time comes.
Gonna be good.
I'm moved by that possibility.
Have we spent the entire morning/afternoon trying to dissect? Did you see the 2.5 minute video that OU football put out from yesterday? As the guys are walking off the practice field, they say, hey, shout out one teammate who impressed in day 1. Did you see that one? And
I didn't see that.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
Who got shout outs?
Well, half the team did, essentially.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I mean, I think John Mateer said Keontez Lewis, I think. He said nobody on defense, which I thought was fantastic. But you heard Zion Kearney got one. Peyton Bowen got some. Amarian Robinson got some. I mean, really, there were about 15 to 20 different players listed. But Brent Venables walked by the camera, and he said, the kickers dominated today. Great job, kickers. Everyone else was shouting out individual players, and Brent Venables' shout-out was the kickers yesterday, which Tate Sandell and Jacob Ulrich, Groza and Ray Guy watch list. Named to the watch list today for the Groza and the Ray Guy. Don't you be sleeping on OU special teams this year.
Hopefully Jacob Ulrich doesn't see the field a lot.
Not as much as
I think
your punter last year, man.
I mean, he's also the holder for field goal attempts, so maybe you want to see Jacob Ulrich a lot in that capacity. But hopefully he's not doing a lot of punting.
You've seen John Mateer before, which everyone was going crazy yesterday over the John Mateer, Deion Burks touchdown reception. Like that kind of went viral on the internet. Pate had something to say about it. I saw Cousin Shane of that SEC podcast had something to say about it. Like that was making the rounds. But how was seeing John Mateer kind of once again up close? I mean, it maybe nothing surprises you necessarily, but he just seems like a dude that's kind of in command of that entire offense.
No, he really does. Like he feels like, how do I put this? He feels like the sun in the solar system of Oklahoma's offense. And it's been a minute since it felt like that was true of the starting quarterback. It felt that way about Dylan Gabriel in 2023, but I'll be honest, like you didn't really get that same vibe in 2024. And so it's nice to have that feeling back where everybody's just kind of gravitating around everything that John Mateer does out there.
Yeah, I mean, he's just – I've said it many times this offseason. And hopefully it turns out this way. I think it's going to. But in the Brent Venables era especially, the right player at the right position at the right time. You know, just timing can be everything. And in a crucial year like this, they need a quarterback like John Mateer and the skill set that he has, but they desperately needed John Mateer and just the overall presence that he brings. And I think, by all accounts from day one, that's the type of guy that they brought in.
Also, Hugh Freeze would be thrilled to know I'm very pleased with this team's length and girth.
Ah, that's
after
good.
Today.
Good to know. I did see Sooner X says Hugh Freeze has the length and girth of an elevator button. So that's nice to see in the opening segment today.
That's a very clever diss.
Gunny says Machine Gun and Pickle Poke look so much alike I almost didn't notice. Which I'm sure that was the same for you, Parker, looking across from me today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that was the case.
Slim Brady says, you can tell Giovanni broke his leg because his arms are jacked. Giovanni looks great, man. He looks like they're supposed to look. And Jermichael Carter, he's, first off, McNeese, I guess, listed him at 6'5". He's not 6'5", and at least Sooner Sports is honest about what he actually is. He's 6'2", but still a guy that looks physically as if he's going to be a tough matchup for opposing defensive backs, just based on his athletic profile.
All right, 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Let's get into some recruiting next. We'll get back into practice takeaways before the end of the hour. But get back into recruiting, the biggest targets left on the board, and an interesting storyline to follow in state for OU football in 2026. We'll do it next right here on The Ref.
Hey Sooner fans, this is Peyton Bowen, and this is The Ref, the home of the Sooner fans. Let's kick it this season, Boomer.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra by engineering each one to outperform your expectations. So you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
Back to school means back to your favorite casino.
And Riverwind jackpots are back in session.
Win with a spin on all your favorite electronic games.
Take your hand to the next level in our premier poker room.
Keep the good times rolling every Friday in August with your wild card.
Play for your share of the $200,000 Under Neon birthday giveaway.
And celebrate 19 years of the best food, drinks, and service in the Metro.
Only at Riverwind Casino.
Hi, everybody. Toby Rowland here for one of my favorite places to golf, the Trails Golf Club in Norman. The Trails offers great golf activities for the entire family. Men's and Ladies Golf Association events, summer junior golf for the kids, plus club fittings throughout the year. The Trails also has great family social events, monthly special dinners, plus holiday brunches and catering. When you're looking for the perfect place to golf, check out the Trails Golf Club in Norman. Contact Zane Alexander today at 405-364-3790 or visit trailsgolf.com.
Football is almost back, and nobody will have you prepped for the SEC ride in 2025 quite like the home of Sooner fans. With the Refs SEC Team Takeover, brought to you by lender CDJR. Drop the dog days of summer monotony with 3 straight weeks of the Refs SEC Team Takeover from July 21st through August 8th as we give a full-day analysis on every conference rival in the Sooners' new frontier of the Southeast Conference. With the Refs SEC Team Takeover, brought to you by lenders CDJR. When you choose Landers Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram of Norman, you're not just getting a great vehicle. You're supporting a dealership that cares about the community. Landers CDJR, where community and commitment drive us forward. That's the Refs SEC Team Takeover. The Ref, the home of Sooner fans, and your home to be SEC ready. The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Around the world, Children International and friends like you are giving children in poverty a chance to thrive. by helping ensure access to healthcare, nutrition, and educational opportunities, and support on their path to employment. Because every child deserves a chance to realize their full potential. Learn more about Children International by going to children.org today.
Wounded Warrior Project helps post 9/11 veterans and their families realize what's possible. With support and resources that bring warriors together and empower them to become stronger, both inside and out.
It's possible to begin healing.
To get the help you need.
To find peace. And as each warrior's needs evolve, so do we. Because these last 20 years are just the beginning. Learn more at woundedwarriorproject.org/possible.
My name is DeMar Hamlin. I play for the Buffalo Bills, and I play safety. CPR saved my life. I've teamed up with the American Heart Association as a national ambassador to help create a nation of lifesavers, turning bystanders into lifesavers through CPR education and access to AEDs. Nearly 3 out of 4 cardiac arrests that don't happen in hospitals happen in homes. Join me to ensure everyone has the chance to live longer, healthier lives. Visit heart.org/nation.
We witnessed Sooner magic in Knoxville in 2015. It was a coming out party for Heisman Trophy winner Baker Mayfield. The Sooners trailed by 17 midway through the second quarter, and Mayfield rallied Oklahoma back to a 31-24 win in double overtime. It's tied for the 5th biggest comeback in OU football history.
Oh, man, that was a great night in Knoxville. Great night in Knoxville, Tennessee. OU down early. They come storming back, and that's exactly right. That was Baker Mayfield's coming out party. The program kind of needed a shot in the arm going into that 2015 season. Had just fired Josh Heupel, and they got it with a guy like Baker Mayfield and ended up making it to the college football playoff and really kind of got started after that Week 2 win at Tennessee. Do you think the Week 2 game against Michigan prevents a similar opportunity? Program needs a little bit of a shot in the arm. You got a quarterback that transferred in that's got some wiggle, got some swagger.
Got a little wiggle, yep.
Do you think the Michigan game could really set the season off like that Tennessee win did?
Absolutely. Hopefully you don't wind up in a 17-0 hole.
Yeah.
That would be like for the sake of all involved, for everyone's mental health around here. Hopefully the parallelism doesn't extend to the 17-0 deficit that Oklahoma had to overcome that night.
Yeah, coming back and winning would be awesome, but having to live in the moment of being down 17-0 at home to Michigan, that would be rough. That would be rather rough. Hey, some national recruiting news today, a prospect that I think a lot of you will remember. Dominic McKinley's younger brother picked LSU today. And I didn't realize that he had a younger brother, but he's also a defensive lineman, correct? Texas was also in on his recruitment, but he's going to join his older brother, Dom McKinley, in Baton Rouge.
Indeed, he is. He's not as good as Dominic. I mean, he's not as tall as Dominic, not as bulked up as Dominic, but still a good prospect in his own right. And Oklahoma was, like many schools, angling for the twofer back when Dominic was navigating his recruitment process, which, if I recall correctly, Dominic McKinley committed to Texas A&M before flipping to LSU. He committed originally to Texas A&M in early September, then flipped to LSU in January. But, Darius McKinley, following his older brother, as you would have expected. I'm pretty sure once McKinley, the older, signed with LSU, everybody kind of figured, all right, younger brother's going along with it.
Especially when they're in state, too.
Exactly.
It's already hard enough to get a really talented player out of the state of Louisiana. I mean, it's happened before, but it's really difficult to do, and especially when older brother is already at LSU, that was going to be an uphill battle for really everyone else. But when it comes to OU, as we enter the month of August, who would we say right now moving forward is the high priority list or best targets remaining? Is Jake Krell the name that we immediately have to bring up when we talk about best targets remaining?
I would say, yeah, Jake Krell, Davian Gross. Those are your big
Those are
two.
my 1 and 2,
Yep,
yes.
Easily 1 and 2, and then Elijah Golden and T. Ron Richardson. Beyond that, it's all right. Let's see what happens. You know?
Yeah, I only wrote down 2 names, and I was really asking about the third, and you mentioned a lot of names there for the third. But it does seem to me that if you're going to make a wish list from here until signing day of guys that aren't already committed, it does feel like it's Jake Krill and Davian Gross are the clear 1-2 right now that you really need to complete this class. Like to get a flip or 2 along the way, but those seem like the easy 1-2.
I think it's a lot easier to feel good, like genuinely feel good about Oklahoma's 2026 class if you get Jake Krill and Davian Gross on board. Maybe you don't think it's a superstar class. Maybe it's not a top 5 class, but I think if you look at the class at that point with Gross and Krell on board, you feel confident that Oklahoma has a solid nucleus in the 2026 cycle to where, okay, maybe you're able to land a luxury addition or 2 later on down the line to make it really feel complete. But the nucleus is there at that point. The nucleus is fully present. If you don't get Gross and or you don't get Krell, then I think there will be those with mixed emotions about the class, which I think is fair.
Yeah. Well, not doing locked in every single day, I'm not as into the weeds in recruiting as I, have been the past few years doing this show with you. But, kind of what you hear about Jake Krill is, obviously OU has a great chance. Texas is right there as well. But Jake Krill loves him some Miguel Chavis. Jake Krill and Miguel Chavis, those 2 guys vibe with each other really, really well. That's why OU has such a great chance. One of the reasons why OU has such a great chance is Miguel Chavis. But when it comes down to it, because I was on with you last Friday, and we said, well, what's the most important game this season as it pertains to OU football recruiting? And we all quickly arrived at the answer. It's the Texas game. It's always the Texas game,
always.
But maybe even more so this year because your top target left on the board is really deciding between your team and Texas. All that to say, what eventually is going to win out for Jake Krill for OU or Texas? What is eventually going to be the number one factor over everything else in how he makes his decision between OU and Texas?
Well, consider this for a moment. Who has long been regarded as the team with the inside track to Jake Krill's recruitment?
It seems like it's been OU.
It's been OU. What did OU not do last year that Texas did?
Win.
They won. Exactly.
That hurts to say.
Yes. That's the reality. I think it is as simple as OU wins this fall and Jake Krill commits to Oklahoma, or OU does not win this fall and Jake Krill commits to Texas. I think it is that binary at this point.
I mean, it kind of feels that way. I mean, if OU wins this year, you got a great chance. If they have another tough year, then all the negative recruiting that people have been throwing around, it looks even more real, this season.
Well, OU has checked virtually every single box for Jake Krill. There's one box they haven't been able to check yet.
Yeah.
And it's the winning box.
And if they have, maybe he's already committed at this point. I guess that's a hypothetical. You don't really know. But it wouldn't shock me if, you would have had a good year last year and he's already committed. But that's the thing that you've got to prove, man. Not only to him, but I think some others in this class maybe and beyond as well. 405-651-3439. Denver from Indiana says, Gross seems like a flip candidate regardless of who he commits to. Would you tend to agree with that he seems like a flip candidate regardless?
Well, again, I think the contingency would be, and I've stated this before, I would say Davian Gross right now is still on track to commit to Oklahoma. When? Shoot, I don't know. But OU has got to go win. If OU doesn't win this fall, if they don't establish some stability for Brent Venables and his staff, then yes, it wouldn't be shocking if Davian Gross at a certain point took a step back to reevaluate his recruitment. And Florida, I would say, is probably the threat that most seriously looms there. Because once the season actually arrives, once games start getting played, Tyler, I worry about Baylor less and less. I worry about Houston less and less.
Yeah. No doubt.
The school that I start to worry about with Davian Gross would be Florida because they have likened him to Percy Harvin, as we've discussed. That's the pitch they've made to him. And Florida could very well have a solid season this fall. They could very well win 8-9 games.
They could. DJ Lagway is going to have to be healthy for that to happen, and they're going to have to roll through a really tough front-loaded schedule. And if DJ Lagway isn't healthy and ready to go for that, and I think the belief right now is that he's going to be, but it just seems like he's had a lot of injury issues his first couple of years. If he's not ready to go for that first half of the schedule, then I don't know if Florida does end up with 8 or 9 wins. Something that I'm sure that you guys have talked about. I know you've talked about. We talked about it last Friday. But has anybody found the year, if there is one, the last time OU didn't get a scholarship player from the state of Oklahoma in a recruiting class? Has anyone gone back and tried to find if that's ever happened?
I don't think it has ever happened, Tyler. I don't think in the long and decorated history of the University of Oklahoma, I don't think the Sooners have gone an entire cycle without signing a player from within state lines.
It feels like it's going to happen this year, man.
In fact, in the modern recruiting era, because I did the research, in the modern recruiting era, there has not been a year where Oklahoma has not signed at least 2 Oklahoma natives. They have signed multiple prospects from within the state of Oklahoma in every recruiting class since the beginning of the internet recruiting era. They are on track to sign 0 in the 26 cycle.
And they could always go back to someone and say, all right, we really want you. We really need you in this class. And maybe here was the initial offer, and here's what we're prepared to do closer to signing day. But would you agree that the way that it looks right now, that OU won't get a player from the state of Oklahoma in the 26 class? Sure looks that way to me.
It's wild to consider that that is a reality that we're dealing with here, because you also have to factor in the very obvious reality that it's not for lack of effort, not for lack of willingness to go pursue anybody in the state of Oklahoma in the 2026 cycle. The Sooners, one way or another, have lost some recruiting battles. I mean, they lost Taj Overton to Oklahoma State. Again, I'm very well aware of the dynamics of that recruitment. Very well aware of it. You could say the same about Braden Presley, right? Regardless of how they lost these recruiting battles, they made an effort to land certain players within the state of Oklahoma and were unsuccessful. So, yeah, it's unprecedented territory. Now, I don't think it's a sign of the times. I don't think it's a sign of changing philosophies, because you look ahead to the 27 cycle. Tyler, as we've talked about, the Sooners have 10 in-state offers right now in the 27 cycle. And that number will probably go up. And they've made it very clear to a guy like Cooper Hackett, for instance, that they want to build the class around him.
Yeah.
And they want to build the class around local talent as well.
So the current rankings look like this as we enter the month of August. OU, the number 27 overall class, according to Rivals. 6 4-stars, 9 3-stars. Again, that's the number 27 overall class. You guys on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line and in the YouTube chat as well, which I'm monitoring, give us one word on your mood of the 2026 recruiting class right now. Just use one word. One word only. But what's your overall mood on this class? What do you think we're mostly going to get from people?
I think you'll get a very mixed bag. And while we await responses, since it is Tennessee Takeover Day, ought we to reminisce on some OU Tennessee recruiting battles?
Yeah, I had that down. Let's do that for sure. Who immediately comes to mind?
Well, honestly, what immediately comes to mind, and this really isn't a recruiting battle, but do you remember the offseason right before Josh Heupel took the Tennessee job, where the Sooners just basically raided the Vols roster?
Key Lawrence, Eric Gray,
Wanye.
I was going to say they got an offensive lineman. Yeah, Wanye Morris.
Yep, they got 3 transfers from Tennessee.
That was the McDonald's bags offseason, right?
That was the McDonald's bags offseason. Yes. I mean, and credit to Josh Heupel for the turnaround that he's orchestrated there, because that situation was terrible when he inherited it. He also inherited a situation in which he was very obviously the second choice, because they tried to hire Greg Schiano.
Yes.
And then that was essentially voted down by their fan base. So, prominent OU Tennessee recruiting battles over the years. OU actually has a Tennessee legacy on the roster right now. Jaden Hardy. Jaden Hardy's dad played football in the NFL and at the University of Tennessee. Zion Reagans was a guy that towards the end of his process, as I recall, was down to OU, Tennessee primarily, Florida State, Georgia. They were involved too. The Sooners have lost a few.
Yeah. Dare I mention one or no? That's
I know which one you're going to mention.
99% going to OU.
They lost Kellen Lindstrom, a 4-star edge rusher from the state of Missouri that came down to OU in Tennessee and settled on the Vols. They lost Desan Brame from right up the road in Wichita.
That was that wasn't great.
That was OU Oregon-Tennessee battle down the stretch, and he actually committed to Oregon very briefly before flipping to the Vols, but that was a guy OU really wanted, and that is a guy that I think is going to have an outstanding collegiate career. And then, of course, the one that I'm sure you had written down.
Robert Meacham. I believe he said, after all these years, I believe that it was 99% going to OU, and then he ends up going to Tennessee and played in the NFL through the Saints, I think, for a bit. Like, had an NFL career.
He had a pretty solid NFL career. He was on that Super Bowl team with the Saints in, 2009?
He was a 918 guy from the state of Oklahoma, and ended up going to play for the Tennessee Vols.
Was that, and I wasn't around at the time, obviously, at least not in a professional capacity. But was that like the OG signing day message board meltdown for OU fans?
I wasn't on the message boards during that time. I was aware of the situation, but knowing how little it can take to cause a message board meltdown, I'm willing to say that, yes, Parker, it was probably one of the initial message board meltdowns that you lost a kid in the state of Oklahoma that was highly ranked to Tennessee. I'm sure that did not go over all that well whatsoever. I asked for one-word responses. That's what we've gotten on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Let's read a few. Sooner Fish says unappealing. Wolf in the 405 says premature. James in Lawton says apprehensive. 918 says inept. 918 says meh. 732 texter says trash.
Wow.
So you thought that we might get a lot of mixed responses here, and maybe we will here in the next few minutes, but that was pretty one-sided from what I just read.
Oh, man. By the way, we did just get a text from Dari Noka, who says he was in the gym at Booker T. Washington covering it for Channel 6.
That's rough.
When Meacham picked Tennessee over OU and Oklahoma State, and he said most of the students started booing.
Wow.
Woof.
Wow.
Oh, you remember that kid from Elgin last cycle?
Yeah, they love you, dude. He's going to Tennessee to play offensive line. Yeah, they love Parker Thune and Elgin. They are big fans of him. What I remember saying that. What happened there? Why were we even making that joke in the first place? Do you remember?
What joke are you referring to?
Because I remember saying like, oh, they're really big fans of Parker Thune.
Oh, yeah. Because basically what I had reported, and it is the gospel truth, let's just say there were some, how do you put it? Some modern-day factors that came into the picture late in that process.
No doubts.
Uh-huh. It was a very 2025 type of I guess 2024 at the time. And that was evidently not well received by the certain parties involved.
214 texter says satisfied, their first ever text. So welcome to the show. Nice to have you here. J-Dub doesn't give us one word, but another Hugh Freeze reference. Not length and girth in this class, so that's there. Dung Hill says frozen sooner. 4-star Sooner says a 4-letter word that I cannot read on the air.
Oh, brother.
So maybe a couple of positive responses, but mostly people are not impressed with OU's recruiting class. Well, I'll say this. If you can go get Jake Krell, if you go get Davian Gross, and if you have a really good season and can find a way to flip a couple of players before signing day, it's not going to be a top 5 class. It's not going to be a top 10 class. But maybe we can all come together on signing day and acknowledge that OU ended up with a very solid recruiting class, and after a very successful 2025 season, maybe all that crap, the negative recruiting that's been going on, maybe we can all be very positive about the 2027 class potentially. I guess we'll find out in December. But yeah, the season is going to go a long way in the 2026 recruiting class and the 2027 class as well. There's so many factors that go into this being one of the most important in OU football history. And I know that we probably say that way too much. It's probably been said the last few years, But when it comes down to recruiting, man, this is a massive, massive year for the program. And they really need to get it right and get back to winning.
Sink or swim time in so many ways for Brent Venables and the OU football machine.
405-651-3439, Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. We'll get back to that. More on practice today, more Sooner football recruiting as well. Keep it locked on the Ref.
Dustin Dvorak here. Do you eat, sleep, and breathe football? KREF is the only place for the most comprehensive daily analysis of Sooner and college football. We are the football experts. We're the home of Sooner fans. Download the KREF app and listen from anywhere.
The City of Norman encourages you to shop small this summer. What better place to eat, shop, and play local than historic Main Street in downtown Norman? With over 65 years of experience, Mr. Robert Fine Furniture and Design stands for quality. Family owned in the heart of Norman, their exquisite showroom is filled with unique items from around the globe. The historic Sooner Theater is a summer staple and a must-see downtown. See great local theater, concerts, or attend performing arts classes. Find upcoming events and tickets at SoonerTheater.org. Visit Oklahoma's premier art gallery specializing in Native American, Oklahoman, and Western art. Find original art, pottery, jewelry, made in Oklahoma products, and so much more at Tribes Gallery on Main Street in the heart of Norman. Join the City of Norman and keep it local this summer when you eat, shop, and play in downtown Norman.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame superstar and the voice of Van Halen, David Lee Roth. Live in concert, performing songs from his entire career. David Lee Roth live at Lucas Oil Live at WinStar, Friday, August 29th. Get tickets now at winstar.com and SeatGeek.com. David Lee Roth, the best there ever was.
Snakes, zombies, sharks, heights, speaking in public. The list of fears is endless. But while you're clutching your blanket in the dark, wondering if that sound in the hall was actually a footstep, the real danger is in your hand, when you're behind the wheel. And while you might think a great white shark is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
I'm Gina Mitchell of Mitchell's Jewelry. We are where Oklahoma gets engaged. And as you would expect, diamonds, engagement rings, and wedding bands take center stage. You can also browse our cases for the latest on-trend styles, unique gemstone jewelry, and timeless classics. Our store is filled with beautiful jewelry, but some of our most special pieces are custom designed and one of a kind. Our goal is to give you an experience beyond compare. Shop with us at Mitchell's Jewelry in-store or online.
Maybe it was a family vacation or a school field trip. But there you were, standing in awe at a national park. We are the National Park Foundation, and together with you, we're creating a future where every person, every generation, gets their chance at an unforgettable moment. Today, tomorrow, forever. Learn more at nationalparks.org/foundation.
More than 600,000 Oklahomans have disabilities. We can't afford to leave great employees behind just because they do things differently.
Who we are and what we accomplish
are much more important.
Hire an Oklahoman with a disability and gain dependability, commitment, and lower turnover. Reach out. Oklahoma Rehabilitation Services, okdrs.gov, 1-800-845-8476.
Locked in with McComas and Thune. No Grayson Singleton today. 405-651-3439 is the text line. This hour is brought to you by Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno. They pride themselves on having the best service technicians and friendly service advisors that put your needs first. They have half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Go check them out in El Reno. That's Dorsey Jones Buick GMC. I did see On3 has an early prediction for the 6A1 title game in Oklahoma this year.
Really?
They are predicting another state championship for Bixby.
Okay, well, good. At least they pay attention.
Owasso falls to Bixby in the title game.
I was about to say, if it's anybody but Bixby, whoever made that prediction is probably not all that tuned in.
Wasn't I think the final score last year when those two teams played was like 43-42 in the state championship game. It was really good.
It was
really good game, I want to say.
It was. I'm just a believer that you have to bet on Bixby until somebody knocks them off the pedestal because, man, they just – what they've done in the 6A high school ranks in Oklahoma – it's and the most remarkable aspect of it to me, Tyler, is that generally speaking, that's not a team that's rife with P4 talent either. It's not like, they got 8 P4 players out there, so that's why they win every year. No, they just win because they're really well coached and they execute well.
They may not have 8 P4 players, but it feels like they have about 85 exceptional high school football players with some P4 talent mixed in there as well. It's like they come at you in waves, man. They got so much depth at Bixby. It's crazy how many good high school football players that they've had here recently. And it's netted them a lot of state championships as well. I did hear yesterday with you and Grayson, Joe John Finley, K-Ref Recruiter of the Month for July.
Uncontested. Unchallenged.
Free lane to the basket and just dunked it home. Hung on the rim for a few seconds as well. Joe John Finley. July. Hey, this isn't K-Ref Recruiter of the Month for January. This isn't K-Ref Recruiter of the Month for March. This is K-Ref Recruiter of the Month for July. The hot time of the year in recruiting. Joe John Finley won it. It does feel like he has a very solid tight end recruiting class.
Oh, very solid tight end recruiting class. Like Tyler Ruxer and Ryder Mix, I think you can make the argument that OU has the best tight end recruiting class in the country right now on the 26 side. It's definitely top 5. There's no question about that. It's absolutely top 5. They have a case for number 1.
Yeah, and I know that he catches a lot of grief from the fans, and that position, let's call it what it is. It's got to be better. It has to be better this year. I mean, it just needs to be. But I do like the overall players, just the overall talent level that they've gotten. I also like the fact that they've gotten 2 tight ends in this class. I just think for depth purposes, numbers-wise, very important for Joe John to get 2 players and get 2 players of that caliber. So nice to see him maybe bounce back a little bit in the 2026 class. Want to get to both the text line and back into practice earlier today. I think it's fair to say that OU has had a better start to training camp than one particular team in the SEC. Maybe you know where I'm going with this. This also leads to another conversation. There's a right and a wrong way to go about social media clips at a practice, at training camp. You see what Ole Miss recently put out of their training camp? A certain running back running through, I don't even know how to explain it, what it looked like he was running through. But there was a lot of them. Have you seen this Ole Miss video clip?
Okay. So
it's got like 18 million impressions on social media.
Okay, that
Twitter.
makes sense. So I was scrolling through social media earlier, and I did see that video. Didn't really think anything of it. Didn't see the comments. Didn't see the quote tweets. Kind of just scrolled absent-mindedly past it. I guess my mind doesn't just live in the gutter like some people.
Well, there's over 18 million people that do, I guess. All right, so you're one of the few, apparently.
Oh, brother. But yes, I did see that. It makes sense.
Unbelievable. Ronnie Crimson says, before today, I had won more Recruiter of the Month awards than Joe John Finley. Yeah, what's up with Ronnie? Ronnie Crimson's slacking. Remember when he would pick a recruit every single year?
He quit, man.
Unbelievable. Ronnie, I love you, man, but what's going on? This is when we need you most. You need to get back after it. Start with Jake Krell. I don't know, but just need you back on the team. That's what we need.
If you want to pick a 2027 guy, by all means, like you want to start trying for Peyton Houston, more power to you. But you got to get back in the game, my friend.
Lloyd on the text line says, I live in Bixby, and we just pay our parents more to live here than Jinx does now. LOL, boomer.
580 listener with a great question. Will the west side of the stadium ever be renovated?
I mean, at some point, yes, it will be renovated.
You would hope so. Because that press box.
It's an eyesore.
That press box is a relic. And I don't generally spend time up there on game days. I'm usually down on the field.
Good.
But,
it's not a fun place to be.
Yeah,
it's my least
it
favorite place to be on a college football Saturday.
I do get the chance, obviously, at all the road games to go up to the press box at some point, whether I just need to correspond with my coworkers or find somewhere to upload from or write from or whatever. I haven't seen all the SEC press boxes yet, but it might be the worst.
Yeah.
It might be the worst.
Well, again, it's an eyesore. The rest of the stadium looks great. I mean, it really does. Then you got the press box that's
I know.
up there. Yeah,
I know. It's the last thing that's kind of been untouched by modern renovative touch.
Powder Puff on the text line says, Oklahoma fans, just chill out about recruiting. I trust the eyes of Jim and his crew and the eyes of the coaching staff more than I do the eyes of the people that rate these kids that just sit back and relax. Or just sit back and relax. Everything will be fine. And I do tend to agree with a lot of that text, Parker. It's you hired this guy for a reason. You allowed him to hire a team for a reason. I understand that some are panicking about 9 3-stars in a class. I will say that I'm sure some of those 3 stars are going to end up being 4 stars by the time that signing day rolls around. You still got an entire season left. But you hired Jim Nagy to trust him and to trust his evaluation, so that's how I'm approaching it moving forward. And I don't think it means that they're not going to pursue 5 stars. That's not what he's saying at all. But he was hired to do a job, and let's see how the evaluations work out.
Amen. Anybody wringing hands about recruiting right now, and it kind of falls on deaf ears at a certain point, but anybody wringing hands about recruiting right now just needs to chill and let Jim Nagy do Jim Nagy's job. If at the end of this recruiting class or at the end of the 2025 season or whatever, like you want to wait for the actual data to reveal itself, and then you want to cry foul about the job that Jim Nagy is doing at the University of Oklahoma, fine. But he's been on the job for 5 months. And Oklahoma has yet to play a football game with Jim Nagy serving as general manager of the program. So I'm taking a patient approach. That is the approach that I would recommend.
Santa John says, I'm concerned about the injury bug biting us again. Is there any hope any will be able to join fall camp? Who are people most concerned about right now? Eli Bowen? Would that be
I would say it's probably
player?
Eli Bowen, just because I think you've come to understand that. And over the years, it feels like this is constantly a talking point throughout fall camp. It's, man, there's talent in that cornerback room, just not sure exactly what it's going to look like. Not a whole lot of verifiable data and resume stuff to go off with these guys. And it's kind of the same reality here in 2025 with this cornerback room at Oklahoma. I mean, outside of Eli Bowen and Gentry Williams, you got guys that you think are going to be good. Like, I'm all in on Cortland Guillory, man. I think that kid's going to be a stud. Jacoby Johnson has a lot of believers. Jeremiah Newcomb and Davon Jordan have turned some heads this offseason, but you just don't know. And when you don't know, you would like to have the 2 guys out there that you have seen play solid football when healthy at Oklahoma, and Gentry Williams and Eli Bowen. So if Eli Bowen's availability is impacted in any way once the actual season rolls around, I think that will be of paramount concern.
Jeremiah Newcomb is a name that I'm very interested in. I mean, he's clearly got the bloodline. His dad was a very good player at Nebraska. But it feels like he's been with the program for a while now, doesn't it? Remember, wasn't it after a spring game? One of Brent's first spring games? Maybe a second spring game that he was here, where Jeremiah Newcomb committed to Oklahoma out of the state of Arizona. So I don't know if the time is now for Jeremiah Newcomb, but he's certainly kind of a name that's in that mix. And I'll be interested to see what kind of training camp that he has. But he is definitely an interesting name at that corner spot. Kind of excited to see what happens there.
Mark from Enid asked, should we be worried about Dolby or does he look fine? I was kind of surprised, for one thing, that Dolby was out there practicing today, because What I had heard was that he was struggling a little bit with the ankle, and that was going to impact his availability throughout fall camp. But he was out there practicing, and it seemed somewhat limited. Like he wasn't doing everything 100% out there, but he was practicing. He had a little club on his hand, though, as well. So not sure what's up with that. Going to have to check around on that. But it appears Kendall Dolby is dealing with multiple things now.
Yeah. Well, you got to see Jaden Ott for the first time today. Any huge takeaways from seeing the transfer from Cal?
Nothing earth-shattering,
Doak Walker,
Tyler.
winner.
I think the guy's going to be good. I think the guy's going to be good. And if that offensive line is all that they're cracked up to be, he could go for 1,000 yards.
Apparently, Torrey Blaylock's looked good as well, which that makes things at the running back position even more crowded.
First world problems, Tyler,
Man.
which you like to have. It's a very different problem than you had with that running back room last year and in 2023. So you'll take it.
Yeah, well, there's some guys on the roster where maybe that's not the best of news right now because there's definitely some players fighting for some carries who have been in the program now for at least a couple of years. All right, that'll do it for Locked In. The Rush coming up next.